The warning lights flashed red across the bridge of the Vorthak warship Devastator as Commander Kethavar studied the readings on his tactical display. A small human vessel had been detected drifting near the restricted Nexus gate, apparently in distress. The ship looked pathetic compared to his massive dreadnought, barely the size of one of their shuttle bays. Another primitive species trying to play with technology they don't understand, Kethavar muttered to his second-in-command. The Vorthak had encountered dozens of such races over the centuries. Most surrendered immediately when they saw the Empire's ships. Those who didn't, well, their wreckage served as warnings to others. The human vessel Harmony appeared to have suffered engine damage. Its hull was scarred, and several sections showed signs of jury-rigged repairs. Perfect prey for what should be a routine salvage operation. The Vorthak Empire had strict protocols for dealing with unknown species: demand submission, extract tribute, and eliminate any who refused to comply. Captain Lee Jun stood calmly on his ship's small bridge, watching the kilometer-long alien warship approach through the viewports. His crew of 23 looked nervous, but Jun seemed almost curious. While his communications officer tried to establish contact, Jun studied the alien ship's design with the intensity of an engineer, examining a fascinating puzzle. "Sir, they're scanning us," reported Lieutenant Park Soo from the sensor station. "Multiple energy signatures. I've never seen technology like this." "Neither have they seen ours," Jun replied quietly, a slight smile playing at the corners of his mouth. The massive alien ship positioned itself directly above the Harmony, its shadow engulfing the smaller vessel entirely. Weapon ports along its hull began to glow with contained energy, a clear demonstration of overwhelming force. The message was obvious: submit or be destroyed. When the communication finally came through, the translated voice was harsh and commanding. "Unknown vessel, you have violated Vorthak territorial space. Prepare to be boarded for interrogation and asset seizure." Jun's crew expected him to attempt negotiation from a position of weakness, perhaps plead for mercy or try to explain their presence. Instead, their captain did something that would puzzle the aliens for days to come. "This is Captain Lee Jun of the research vessel, Harmony," he broadcast back. "I formally request permission to come aboard your ship for face-to-face negotiations." The bridge fell silent. Even his own crew stared at him in disbelief. No one voluntarily walked into the enemy's stronghold when facing impossible odds. The Vorthak bridge, Commander Kethavar's mandibles clicked in confusion. In 3 centuries of conquest, no species had ever made such a request. Prey didn't ask to enter the predator's den. They ran, they fought, or they begged. They didn't politely request meetings. "Sir, this could be some kind of trap," his tactical officer warned. Kethavar studied the tiny human ship on his screens. What possible threat could such a pathetic vessel pose to his dreadnought? Perhaps these humans were even more primitive than their intelligence suggested, too ignorant to understand their situation. "Grant their request," he decided. "I want to see what manner of fools we're dealing with." Captain Jun straightened, his uniform, and headed for the airlock, that same mysterious smile never leaving his face. The airlock hissed open, and Captain Lee Jun stepped onto the Vorthak bridge, followed closely by Lieutenant Park Soo. The alien crew towered over the 2 humans, massive creatures with forearms and skin like polished granite. Their bridge was enormous, easily 50 times larger than the Harmony's command center. What surprised the Vorthak wasn't fear in the humans' eyes, but genuine fascination. While Park stayed alert near the entrance, Jun walked slowly around the bridge, examining their control systems like a tourist in a museum. He stopped at a particular console, his eyes widening with what looked like professional appreciation. "Remarkable," Jun said, pointing to the quantum processing array. "You've solved the coherence problem using crystalline matrices instead of plasma conduits. Our engineers back home theorized this approach, but never thought it was practical." The Vorthak bridge crew exchanged glances. This wasn't how prisoners usually behaved. Most species either cowered in terror or blubbered for mercy when brought aboard their warships. Commander Kethavar stepped forward, his forearms crossed in a gesture of authority. "Human, you will cease this inspection immediately. You are here to provide information, not to study our technology." "Of course, Commander," June replied politely, but his eyes continued to dart around the bridge, taking in details. I apologize for my curiosity. It's just that we've heard so much about Vorthak engineering prowess. Then you know our reputation, Kethvar said, his voice growing more threatening. The Vorthak Empire has conquered 47 star systems. We demand tribute from all species in our territory. You will provide the coordinates to your homeworld immediately. June's smile never wavered. I'm afraid that's not possible, Commander. Earth's location is classified information. However, I'd be happy to discuss establishing trade relations between our peoples. The casual refusal hit the bridge like a physical blow. Several Vorthak officers reached for their weapons. In 3 centuries of expansion, no species had ever simply said no to their demands with such calm politeness. Perhaps you don't understand your situation, Kethvar growled, his voice echoing through the massive chamber. Your pathetic vessel is completely outmatched. We could reduce it to atoms with a single pulse from our main cannon. Oh, I understand perfectly, June replied, still examining a nearby tactical display. Your ship is impressive, roughly 1,200 meters long, crew of 800 armed with plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes. Quite formidable. The specificity of his knowledge unsettled the aliens. How could this human know such details about their ship's specifications, Lieutenant? Park spoke up for the first time. Captain, should I show them the cultural exchange protocols we prepared? Not yet, June said softly. I think Commander Kethvar needs time to consider our offer. The alien commander's patience finally snapped. Enough of this foolishness. You will provide your homeworld's location or face the consequences. No species defies the Vorthak Empire. June turned to face him directly, and for the first time his smile took on a different quality, still polite but with something unsettling underneath. Commander, before we discuss consequences, there's something I should probably mention. We've been monitoring your communications for quite some time now. The bridge fell completely silent. The silence on the Vorthak bridge stretched like a taut wire. Commander Kethvar's 4 eyes narrowed as he processed what the human had just said. Monitoring their communications, that was impossible. The Vorthak military used quantum encryption that even their most advanced enemies couldn't crack. You're lying, Kethvar said, but there was uncertainty in his voice now. Our encryption protocols are unbreakable. No primitive species could penetrate our networks. Captain June's smile widened just a fraction. Your supply convoy from Theta Station departed 3 days ago, carrying medical supplies and weapon components. The convoy commander is Captain Rextal, and he's running 2 hours behind schedule because of engine trouble on the 3rd transport. The blood drained from Kethvar's face. That information was classified at the highest levels. Only a handful of commanders knew those details. Lucky guess, the alien commander said, but his voice wavered. Lieutenant Park stepped forward, pulling out a small device. Patrol Route 7 Alpha around Kepler 442 changes every 6 hours. The current pattern has your ships making a wide sweep past the asteroid field before returning to the main shipping lane. Admiral Thekvor personally approved this route yesterday. The Vorthak bridge crew began murmuring among themselves. These details weren't just classified, they were need-to-know information that changed daily. How could these humans possibly know such things? But here's what really concerns me, June continued, his tone remaining conversational. The rebellion brewing in your outer colonies. The Zephyrians on Outpost Delta 9 have been secretly stockpiling weapons for 3 months now. Your intelligence division suspects something but hasn't figured out the scope yet. Commander Kethvar stumbled backward. The Zephyrian situation was known only to the highest levels of command. Even most of his own crew weren't aware of the potential uprising. How, was all he could manage to ask. We're very good listeners, June replied simply. Your people have been broadcasting on quantum frequencies for decades. Once we learned your language patterns, well, it became quite easy to follow your conversations. The implications hit the Vorthak commander like a physical blow. If humans could intercept their communications, they knew everything. Fleet movements, supply routes, military strategies, even internal political problems. Sir, the tactical officer whispered urgently to Kethvar, if they know our operational details, they could have prepared countermeasures. This could be a trap. Kethvar's rage finally boiled over. Enough! I don't care what you think you know. You are prisoners on my ship, surrounded by my weapons. Your vessel is defenseless against our firepower." He turned to his weapons officer. "Charge the main cannon, target their ship. Perhaps watching their vessel turn to dust will loosen their tongues." "I wouldn't do that if I were you," June said quietly, his hand moving to a small device on his wrist. "And why not?" Kethvar snarled. "Because your main cannon won't fire." The alien commander laughed harshly. "My weapons are in perfect working order, human. You'll see soon enough." "Fire," he commanded. The weapons officer pressed the activation sequence. Nothing happened. He tried again, his claws clicking frantically across the controls. Still nothing. "Sir, the main cannon isn't responding. Neither are the secondary batteries. What's wrong with them?" Kethvar demanded. The tactical officer's voice was shaking. "Sir, I'm reading system failures across multiple decks. Navigation is offline. Engineering reports power fluctuations. Our automated systems they're not responding to commands, Captain." June touched the device on his wrist, and suddenly every screen on the bridge flickered. For just a moment, human text appeared on the displays before switching back to Vorthak symbols. "You see, Commander," June said with that same infuriating smile, "we didn't just listen to your communications. We learned how to speak your language, including the language your computers understand." Captain June pressed the small device on his wrist, and the effect was immediate. Throughout the massive Vorthak bridge, warning lights began flashing in sequence. The steady hum of the ship's engines stuttered, then dropped to a lower pitch. Console displays flickered between normal operations and error messages that appeared faster than the alien crew could read them. "What's happening?" "Commander," Kethvar shouted over the growing chaos. His bridge officers frantically worked their stations, but nothing responded properly. The navigation officer looked up with panic in his 4 eyes. "Sir, our course is changing. The autopilot won't accept manual override commands. We're turning toward the asteroid field." "Engineering to bridge," came a frantic voice over the comm system. "Commander, our main reactor is cycling down for what the computer says is routine maintenance. We can't stop the sequence." Lieutenant Park smiled as she watched the alien crew scramble. "Captain, I'm receiving confirmation signals from across the sector. Operation Silent Thunder is proceeding perfectly." Kethvar spun around to face the humans. "What have you done to my ship?" "We've done exactly what we told you," June replied calmly. "We learned your language, all of it, including the command. Codes your computers use to talk to each other." On the main display, reports began flooding in from other Vorthak vessels throughout the sector. The battleship Enforcer was drifting powerless after its engines shut down for scheduled inspection. The destroyer Ravager had locked itself into a diagnostic cycle that couldn't be interrupted. Even the massive space station orbiting the gas giant had sealed its docking bays and wouldn't respond to unlock commands. "Your automated systems are very thorough," Park observed, checking her tablet. "They follow maintenance protocols exactly as programmed. The problem is, they'll believe any command that comes with the right authorization codes, the Vorthak communications." Officer tried desperately to contact the fleet. "Sir, I can reach other ships, but their computers won't let them respond. Every vessel is reporting the same issues. Critical systems are offline for maintenance that was never scheduled." "You see," June explained, watching the alien crew struggle with their own technology, "your ships are designed to be efficient. When the central computer decides it's time for maintenance, the crew can't override it. Very logical, really. Prevents accidents during dangerous procedures." "But we didn't order any maintenance," Kethvar roared. "No, but someone with the proper command authority did," Park said, holding up her device. "About 3 minutes ago, every ship in your fleet received new maintenance schedules, signed with Admiral Thekfor's personal authorization codes." The horror of their situation finally hit the alien commander. "You've been inside our networks this entire time." "How long?" "Long enough," June said simply. "While you were cataloging us as another primitive species, we were studying every signal your ships broadcast. Your computers are very chatty once. You know how to listen." The tactical officer's voice cracked as he delivered his report. "Sir, 17 ships across the sector are now dead in space. Our orbital defense platforms have gone into lockdown mode. Even our communication relays are offline." Commander Kethvar looked around his bridge. his crew helpless, his weapons useless, his mighty warship reduced to a drifting hulk by its own safety systems. The two humans stood calmly in the center of it all, completely unthreatened, despite being surrounded by hundreds of armed aliens. "This is impossible," he whispered. "How could a primitive species do this to us?" Captain June's smile never wavered. "Commander, I think you're about to learn that primitive might not be the right word to describe humanity." As the Vorthak fleet drifted helplessly through space, something even more unsettling began to happen. Ships started appearing around them, but not the sleek military vessels the aliens expected. Instead, battered cargo haulers, mining ships, and what looked like civilian transports materialized from seemingly empty space. "Where did they come from?" Commander HFY demanded, staring at the tactical display. His sensors hadn't detected anything moments before. "Stealth technology," his tactical officer suggested weakly. Captain June shook his head. "Nothing so fancy. We just learned that most species don't pay attention to ships that look harmless. A cargo vessel carrying mining equipment doesn't seem threatening, does it?" One by one, the human ships revealed their true nature. Cargo bay doors slid open to expose weapon arrays. Mining lasers rotated toward the disabled Vorthak vessels. What had appeared to be simple transport ships now bristled with jury-rigged cannons and missile pods. "You've been watching us for weeks," Lieutenant Park explained, checking her communication device. "Every time you logged a civilian merchant vessel passing through your territory, you were actually recording our reconnaissance ships." The realization hit the Vorthak bridge crew like a cold wave. All those routine cargo runs, all those mining operations they'd barely noticed, every single one had been human intelligence-gathering missions. Dr. Kim Hana's voice crackled over the comm system from the research vessel Harmony. "Captain June, psychological profile analysis complete. The Vorthak command structure relies heavily on perceived superiority and technological dominance. Current situation should cause significant demoralization across their fleet." HFY's mandibles clicked nervously. "Psychological profile? You've been studying us like laboratory specimens?" "Pretty much," June admitted without any hint of apology. "We needed to understand how you think, how you fight, what scares you. Turns out, what terrifies you most is the idea that someone might be smarter than you are." The human captain gestured toward the view screen, where more ships continued to decloak around the paralyzed Vorthak fleet. "See? This is the difference between humans and most other species we've encountered. You build bigger guns and stronger armor. You fight with brute force and intimidation. And humans don't?" HFY asked, though he was beginning to suspect he wouldn't like the answer. "We fight with information," Park replied. "We study our enemies until we know them better than they know themselves. We find their weaknesses, their blind spots, their fears. Then we turn those against them." More reports flooded in from the HFY disabled Vorthak vessels. The destroyer Obliterator was reporting that its weapon systems were running diagnostic cycles that would take 6 hours to complete. The battlecruiser Dominator had lost navigation control and was slowly spinning in place. Even worse, their crews couldn't override the computer-controlled systems that were betraying them. "This isn't warfare," HFY said, his voice hollow. This is humiliation." "Exactly," June said quietly. "Your entire military doctrine is based on being the biggest, scariest thing in the room. What happens to that when a smaller, supposedly weaker enemy makes you look foolish in front of your own crews?" Engineer Yang Hyun's voice came through from one of the converted cargo ships. "Captain, we're receiving surrender requests from 3 Vorthak vessels. Their crews are more afraid of being court-martialed for losing to primitives than they are of us." The psychological aspect of the attack was working perfectly. The Vorthak weren't just being defeated, they were being outsmarted by a species they'd dismissed as inferior. For a warrior culture built on dominance and superiority, nothing could be more devastating to morale. "You're not just beating us," HFY realized. "You're making us look like fools." Captain June's smile was almost sympathetic. "Commander, we gave you every chance to treat this as a diplomatic encounter. You chose to make it a military one." Commander HFY's desperation finally overcame his pride. He activated the emergency communication array, the one system that was supposed to be immune to outside interference. His claws stabbed at the controls as he prepared to broadcast a fleet-wide distress call to Vorthak High Command. "This is Commander Kethavar to Central Fleet," he spoke into the transmitter. "We are under attack by human forces. Request immediate reinforcement from the 3rd Battle Group. Priority Alpha Emergency." He waited for acknowledgement. Nothing came. Back except static. "Communications array is functioning," his officer reported, confusion clear in his voice. "The signal is transmitting, but we're not receiving any responses." Captain June watched the alien commander's growing panic with calm interest. "Having trouble reaching your friends?" "What have you done to our communications?" Kethavar demanded. "Lieutenant," Park consulted her tablet, "we haven't done anything to your communications, Commander. We've just been listening to them, and occasionally redirecting them." The truth hit like a physical blow. Every message the Vorthak fleet had sent was being intercepted, analyzed, and either blocked or rerouted through human communication networks. Their desperate calls for help were disappearing into the void. "Impossible," Kethavar whispered. "Our quantum encryption is very sophisticated," June agreed. "But like any language, once you understand the grammar and vocabulary, you can write your own sentences." Across the sector, the scope of human preparation became horrifyingly clear. Ships that the Vorthak had dismissed as harmless merchants over the past months were simultaneously revealing their true nature. The cargo vessel, Lucky Strike, opened fire with concealed plasma cannons. The mining ship Deep Explorer launched torpedoes from hidden weapon bays. Engineer Yang Hyun's voice came through clearly from what had appeared to be a simple transport vessel. "Captain June, this is the Prosperity, all Vorthak installations. In Grid 7 are now under observation. They never noticed our mining operations were actually surveillance posts. The mining operations." Kethavar remembered approving permits for human mining ships to work the asteroid fields. Routine paperwork that had crossed his desk dozens of times. Standard civilian activity that posed no military threat. "You've been here for months," he said, the full picture finally forming in his mind. 6 months and 12 days, Park confirmed. "Amazing how many commercial opportunities you can find when you're really looking for strategic positions." Every human presence in Vorthak space had been carefully planned. The merchant vessels had mapped their trade routes and communication networks. The mining operations had established hidden observation posts in perfect positions to monitor military traffic. Even the research expeditions had been gathering intelligence on Vorthak technology and military capabilities. "Our entire sector," Kethavar began, "is now transparent to human intelligence," June finished. "Every ship movement, every communication, every strategic decision your commanders make, we see it all." Captain Choi Rin reported from another converted cargo ship. "Command, this is New Horizon. Vorthak database penetration complete. We now have full intelligence on 17 allied species and their military capabilities." The aliens hadn't just lost a battle, they'd lost their entire intelligence advantage. Everything they knew about their enemies, their allies, their strategic positions was now in human hands. This wasn't a first contact, Kethavar said, understanding flooding through him. This was an intelligence operation. "First contact happened months ago," June replied. "Today was just the field test of everything we learned." The Vorthak Empire had been infiltrated, studied, and systematically compromised by a species they'd never taken seriously. And the worst part? They still had no idea how many other human operations were running throughout the galaxy. What happened next would haunt Commander Kethavar for the rest of his life. The humans didn't destroy the Vorthak fleet. They did something far worse. They began systematically taking it apart, piece by piece with surgical precision. Captain June walked calmly to the main tactical display as if he owned the bridge. "Commander, I need you to understand something. We're not here to start a war, we're here to prevent one." "By capturing our fleet?" Kethavar asked, watching helplessly as human boarding parties moved between the disabled Vorthak ships. "By learning from it," June corrected. "Every ship, every weapon system, every piece of technology you've developed over centuries, it's all going to help us understand the galaxy better." The process was methodical and terrifying. Human technicians didn't blast their way onto Vorthak vessels. Instead, they used the aliens' own docking protocols, their own airlock systems, their own internal communication networks to gain access. The ships were betraying their own crews. Lieutenant Park received another status update. Captain, Boarding Team 7 has secured the engineering section of the Devastator. Dr. Kim reports that their quantum drive technology is more advanced than we initially thought. Excellent, June replied. Make sure we get complete technical specifications. Our engineers back home will want to study the power coupling systems. Kethavar watched in horror as his own ship's computer systems began displaying human interface screens alongside Vorthak ones. The humans weren't just capturing his vessels, they were integrating them into their own network. "You're turning our ships into your ships," he said, the words barely a whisper. "Not exactly," June explained patiently. "We're turning them into listening posts. Every Vorthak vessel we've captured will now monitor communications from other alien species. Your own technology will help us understand civilizations we haven't even met yet." The scope of the operation was staggering. Human technicians worked with clockwork efficiency, installing their own equipment alongside existing Vorthak systems. They weren't replacing the alien technology, they were enhancing it, improving it, and most importantly, controlling it. Engineer. Yang Hyun reported from the captured battle cruiser, Annihilator. "Captain, we've successfully interfaced with their central computer core. All tactical databases are now accessible. We have complete star charts for 47 star systems." "And their defensive positions?" June asked. "Everything, sir. Fleet, patrol routes, weapons platform locations, even the personal command codes of their sector admirals." Lieutenant Choi Rin's voice crackled over the communication system from another captured vessel. "Captain, this is incredible. The Vorthak database contains detailed intelligence profiles on 17 different alien species. Military capabilities, trade agreements, diplomatic relationships, it's all here." Kethavar felt physically sick. The humans hadn't just defeated his fleet, they'd turned it into a massive intelligence-gathering operation. Every piece of classified information the Vorthak Empire had collected over decades was now in human hands. "This is how you operate, isn't it?" he asked, finally understanding. "You don't conquer through force, you conquer through knowledge." "We prefer the word understand," June said. "Force creates enemies. Understanding creates opportunities." Dr. Park Min's voice came through from the science vessel, Harmony. "Captain, analysis of Vorthak technology is complete. We've identified integration points with 12 other technological paradigms we've encountered. This will significantly accelerate our research programs." The humans had turned first contact into a comprehensive intelligence coup. They hadn't just learned about the Vorthak, they'd learned about everyone the Vorthak knew, everyone they traded with, everyone they fought against. "How many species have you done this to?" Kethavar asked. Captain June's smile was almost apologetic. "Commander, you're not our first contact. You're not even our 10th. The weight of Captain June's words settled over the Vorthak bridge like a suffocating blanket. Commander Kethavar stared at the human captain, trying to process what he'd just heard. "Not your first contact," Kethavar repeated slowly. "But our intelligence networks reported that humanity had just achieved interstellar travel. You're supposed to be newcomers to galactic civilization." June's smile took on a different quality, patient, almost teacher-like. "Commander, what's the first rule of intelligence gathering?" What?" "Never let your target know they're being watched," Lieutenant Park answered for him. "We've been studying galactic civilization for 8 months. While every species in the galaxy saw scattered human ships as curious newcomers exploring space, we were actually conducting the largest intelligence operation in galactic history." The alien commander's legs gave out, and he collapsed into his command chair. 8 months? "The Zelkari Confederation was our actual first contact," June explained, his tone conversational despite the devastating information he was sharing. "Beautiful people, really. Very artistic culture. They were so eager to share their knowledge with the primitive humans that they told us everything about their neighbors, their trade partners, their enemies." Dr. Kim Hanna's voice came through from the science vessel. "Captain, should I brief?" "The commander on the Thaxion encounter." "Go ahead, Doctor." "The Thaxions control the major trade routes in the Outer Rim," Kim explained over the comm. "They were absolutely delighted to help the innocent human traders understand galactic commerce. They provided us with detailed economic data on 43 different species, including complete cargo manifests and shipping schedules." Kethavar felt like he was drowning. "How many species have you contacted?" 17 confirmed first contacts, Park replied, checking her tablet, plus secondary intelligence on 63 additional civilizations through our primary contacts. We've also established observation posts in 12 different star systems. The scope was unthinkable. While the galaxy's established powers had been debating whether humanity was worth paying attention to, the humans had been systematically cataloging every major civilization in known space. The Moradian Empire gave us detailed military specifications for their entire fleet, Jun continued. They wanted to impress us with their power. The Crystalline Collective shared their technological databases because they thought we might become useful trading partners. The hive clusters provided biological and psychological profiles of dozens of species they'd encountered. "You've been playing us all," Kethvar whispered. "Not playing," June corrected gently. "Learning. Every species we encountered taught us something valuable. The Vorthax taught us about military hierarchy and how intimidation-based cultures respond to unexpected challenges," Dr. Park Min reported from the analysis station. "Captain, cross-referencing the Vorthak intelligence with our previous encounters has revealed some interesting patterns. At least 6 species use similar command structures. The psychological approaches that worked here should be effective elsewhere." The revelation was staggering. Humanity hadn't stumbled into galactic politics as naive newcomers. They'd methodically studied every major power, learning their strengths, weaknesses, fears, and desires. While other species saw first contact as a diplomatic formality, humans treated it as a comprehensive intelligence briefing. "We know about the border disputes between the Azari Republic and the Stone Kings," Park added casually. "We know about the secret research facilities the Quantum Syndicate is running in the Dark Nebula. We even know about the rebellion brewing in the outer territories of your own empire." "Our own rebellion?" Kethavar asked weakly. "The Zephyrians aren't as subtle as they think they are," June said. "Neither are the Krathan separatists or the mining unions on Vorthak 7. Your intelligence division is good, Commander, but they're not looking for the right signs." The human captain walked over to the massive view screen, showing the paralyzed Vorthak fleet. "What you're seeing here isn't humanity's military might, Commander. It's the result of 8 months of careful study, preparation, and understanding. We didn't defeat you with superior weapons. We defeated you with superior knowledge." "You've been preparing for war this entire time," Kethvar said. "No," June replied quietly. "We've been preparing for peace. Real peace only comes when everyone understands everyone else." 6 hours later, Commander Kethvar stood in what had once been his own command center, watching human technicians work alongside his bewildered crew. The irony wasn't lost on him. He was now a prisoner on his own flagship. Yet somehow the atmosphere felt less tense than it had in years. The humans had done something unprecedented in galactic history. They hadn't enslaved the Vorthak crew or thrown them in detention cells. Instead, they'd offered them a choice: cooperate and learn, or be transferred to a remote outpost to wait out the changing times. Most had chosen to stay and watch history unfold. Captain June approached, carrying 2 cups of what appeared to be Vorthak military coffee. He offered one to the defeated commander. "I thought you might need this," June said simply. Kethvar accepted the cup, noting that it was prepared exactly the way he preferred it. Even this small detail showed how thoroughly the humans had studied his people. "You know what the most dangerous thing about humans is?" he asked, echoing something he'd heard earlier. "Tell me," June replied, settling into a chair beside him. "You don't just defeat your enemies. You understand them better than they understand themselves. You learn from them. You become better than them at their own specialties." Kethvar took a sip of coffee. "My own tactical officer has been sharing fleet coordination protocols with your people for the past hour. He's not being forced to, He's genuinely excited to compare notes. Through the viewports, they could see human ships preparing to depart. Not military vessels departing in formation, but the same converted cargo ships and mining vessels that had appeared during the battle. They looked harmless again, ready to continue their journey to other sectors of the galaxy. "Where are they going?" Kethvar asked. "Wherever they're needed," June replied. "The Zelkari Confederation has been having trade disputes with the Moradian Empire. Our people might be able to help both sides find common ground. The Crystalline Collective is facing internal political challenges that could benefit from an outside perspective." The scope of human operations was still sinking in. While other species focused on their own territories and immediate neighbors, humanity was positioning itself as a galactic mediator armed with intimate knowledge of everyone's problems and capabilities. Lieutenant Park joined them, carrying a tablet full of reports. "Captain, the integration process is complete, all captured. Vorthak vessels are now part of our monitoring network. We're already receiving intelligence from 12 different star systems." "And our crew?" Kethvar asked. "Your people are adapting remarkably well," Park replied. "Engineer Thalvar has some fascinating ideas about improving quantum drive efficiency. Your communications specialist knows more about alien psychology than most of our diplomats." Dr. Kim Hana's voice came through the communication system from the science vessel. "Captain, we're receiving requests from 3 different species for mediation services. Apparently, word is spreading about our diplomatic capabilities." June turned to Kethvar with that same patient smile. "You know what's interesting, Commander? Every species we've encountered has assumed we wanted to conquer them. But conquest is temporary. Understanding is permanent." "What happens to the Vorthak Empire now?" Kethvar asked. "That depends on what you want to happen," June replied. "We could help you resolve those outer colony rebellions. We could mediate your border disputes with the Azari Republic. We could even help improve your relationship with species you've been at war with for centuries. And in return, cooperation, knowledge sharing, a commitment to solving problems with understanding rather than force." June stood up, preparing to leave. "The galaxy is changing, Commander. The age of conquest is ending. The age of cooperation is beginning." As human ships departed for distant star systems, carrying their comprehensive knowledge of galactic civilization, Kethvar realized the truth. Humanity hadn't conquered the galaxy through superior firepower. They had conquered it through superior understanding, and somehow that felt like the beginning of something better.